making one of my favorite side dishes and one of my family favorites, an asparagus cheese tart. It is absolutely delicious, and it will be very simple to make. It just takes a little bit of thought, and it's not always ingredients that you might have on hand, so you just need to prepare just a little bit with it. What we're going to be doing is starting with a puff pastry. There is also, the box looks very similar to a phyllo box, so just make sure you get the puff pastry with this. You also need to make sure that you bring this to room temperature because it is frozen. So what we want to do is really make sure it needs to sit out for about a good hour or so. And then there's 2 of them in here. And what you do is you lightly flour on parchment paper, just so it doesn't stick. So we're going to be putting that right on top. And just be a little careful with it. It's a little stickier than maybe what you're used to. So we're just slowly just going to lay this down on the parchment paper. And then we're going to roll it out to about the size of this baking sheet. So just lightly roll it. Be very gentle with it. It's a very light pastry dough, so we don't want too much work done on it. So I'm just, as you can see, it's really easily to maneuver, and the extra flour just kind of zhuzh off there. And I'm not making it too much, too thin, but we just want to roll it out just a little bit. So after I've rolled this out, I'm just going to take a fork and poke all the way through the entire sheet of puff pastry. I have turned my oven on to 400 degrees. We're going to pre-bake this for about 12 minutes just to get it nice and golden brown, because we will be adding our toppings on top of it afterwards, and then it goes back into the oven one more time. So while this is cooking about 12-15 minutes, real light golden brown, don't get it too cooked. I am going to boil my asparagus for about 2 to 5 minutes just to get it bright green and just kind of parboil. And next what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating our cheese mixture that will be going on there. So I've just been doing some of my prep work, and I wanted to kind of show you the golden brown texture that I have my puff pastry at. So right now this is just going to cool down a little bit. I've also pre-boiled my asparagus for 4 minutes because mine was a little thinner, just to get it to a nice bright green. And I put it into an ice bath, and then it's just going to dry out on a paper towel for a few minutes while I work on my cheese mixture, which is what we're going to be doing next. One other thing I wanted to put out there, I do like this dish too, because a lot of this the step I'm going to before I assemble all this, or right after I assemble all this, is that it could be done prior to your dinner, and then all you're going to do then is put it back into the oven and warm everything up for about 8 minutes. So it's kind of nice that you're not worrying about all this to be done when you're getting ready for a dinner. So I'm actually pre-doing this before my dinner. I have 2 egg yolks in here, and then I also have about a tablespoon or so of a shallot. I also have a fontina and a Gruyere this time. You can use a comte cheese instead of your Gruyere, and it's really good. So it just depends what my grocery store has sometimes, but a comte or a Gruyere are fabulous. So I have about a cup that I have just finely chopped and diced, nothing too particular, but just enough that as it's melting on top of the tart will be really good. So I've got my cup in here of each one of those. I'm also going to be adding about 3 tablespoons of milk to this dish, and about 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. I'm probably a little more heavy-handed because I like the little burst of the nutmeg, but the nutmeg in here is absolutely fantastic. So what you're going to do is just mix all this up together, and we will be placing egg yolks will kind of thicken up your mixture, and we will be putting that on top of our puff pastry right before it bakes, and then we'll be adding the asparagus on top of that. So we're just gonna get to a very nice consistency here and get that all mixed. I also wanted to share with you all the rinds and that I just love. So I've just been throwing in here all my extra shallots and the end bits of the asparagus. I'll put the rinds back of my cheese in here too. And I'm actually going to be doing a really good, I'm either going to do a vegetable or a chicken broth that I can use later, but the richness of all these vegetables and everything that I've been using is so fantastic for a broth. So don't throw it out. Just go ahead and make a broth, and it's up to you if you want it to be, vegetables or a chicken broth, depending what else I'm going to be cooking. And the next day or two, I'll probably put that in there. So just don't throw it away. So all we need to do now is just assemble it. We're going to take our cheese mixture that we mixed in here, and we're going to lay that right on top. And then on top of that, what we're going to do is just kind of neatly put our asparagus in a row. And I'm leaving just a little bit of my mixture that I had out there, some of the milk and that kind of thing, just in my dish. I'm not going to really need to put too much on here because we don't want the puff pastry to get too soggy. So I'm just pulling a little bit of that out. And you're going to leave probably about an inch outside of your puff pastry for when you cut it and all this melts, so there's plenty of room. So I'm just going to lay all that out. And I'm not going to forget any last bit of cheese that's in here because this is so good. So then what I'm going to do is take my asparagus and I'm just going to start layering this on top. We're now just going to go back and bake this for about 400 degrees for just about 8 minutes, 8-10 minutes. It'll finish cooking up the puff pastry, and it'll get all your nice cheese melted, and you are ready to go. Again, this is one of my favorite dishes, and it is so good. It's very rich because of the cheeses that you're using, so I definitely like to pair this with like a beef or even like the king crab legs, just something that can handle something a little bit stronger when you're using this side dish. So there you go. You'll see the finished product.